Alright you guys, I finally picked myself up a copy of Gunstar Heroes. You know, as a Sega Genesis fan, I've heard so much about this game, but never actually played it until I picked it up just recently. As you can see, I got it complete. It's in great shape. I got a really good deal on it. Let's pop this in the JVC XI and take a look at one of the greatest run and gun games for the Sega Genesis. Okay, so here's where you pick the way the controls are. You can either have free shoot or fixed shoot, and then you pick your primary weapon. There's 4 basic weapons in this game, but as you can see in the game, you can combine them to get more, and I'll show you that. And here's the stage select screen. You have 4 stages to start off with, but there's a few stages after this that you have to go through in order. And here we go. Starting off with the fire weapon, which is what I picked. We have sort of like a flamethrower. As you can see, it has a limited range, but you can fire in all 8 directions in this game. And, you know, it's very much like Contra on crack. There's just so many sprites. Look at this. It's ridiculous. It's mayhem. There's so much shit going on. Things coming at you from every direction. But luckily the controls are very fast, very easy to manage. The game is not really nearly as hard as it looks. I have to admit, when I first saw this game, I thought, holy crap, I'm not going to be able to make it a quarter of the way through the first level. It looks, you know, 10 times harder than Contra. But in fact, it's not as hard as it looks. Luckily, you can take a lot of damage. Your vitality is sort of like your hit points. You can go beyond 100% with that, and you pick up health throughout the game, just like that. B picks up items. You have to press down and B at the same time to pick up items. B also fires. If you press jump, which is C, and down at the same time, you'll do a slide. You can also jump down levels, as you saw there. You can press B and C at the same time to block, which doesn't come in handy too often for me. I didn't find myself using the block feature too often. But as you can see in the top right, beside our vitality, beside our life, it shows the 2 weapons that we have picked up at once. Now, like I said, there's 4 weapons in this game. There's a force, a lightning, a chaser, it's like laser darts, and fire. These are your 4 main weapons, but as you can see, you can hold 2 at the same time. A switches between weapons, but you can also combine weapons. So between the 4 weapons and the combinations that you have in the order that you have them, you can combine weapons and achieve 10 extra special weapons. So you actually have basically 14 weapons in total. Now here you can see 2 chasers gives me a star chaser. These little laser things here are basically, you know, heat sinking to the enemy. So there's a lot of enemy seeking weapons when you get the special weapons in this game, which is another reason it's not really as hard as it looks. You can basically just run around, avoid getting hit, just hold that fire button down the whole time, and a lot of those weapons are enemy seeking. Like many treasure games, there's multiple bosses per level. You know, you might have 3 or 4, maybe even more boss fights per level. The boss fights are a big part of the game. As you can see, some of the bosses are very big. They take advantage of a huge amount of sprites. I mean, if you look at the legs and the way this boss moves, they're not just big bosses, but you know, they have a lot of articulation. They move around realistically. You know, you see some games where you have huge bosses, but they're basically just like maybe one big sprite and then their arm moves or something like that. In here you have really big bosses with really cool animation. I know I didn't mention it yet, this game was produced by Treasure. This game came out in 1993. And, you know, I'm surprised this game isn't as common as it should be. I'm not going to say this game's rare, but it's definitely a little bit harder to find. It's definitely a limited production. There's not as many copies out there, considering this game did so good in reviews. You go back to 1993, you look at reviews for this game, I mean, nothing but 90%, you know, 5 out of 5s. EGM gave this game Action Game of the Year in 1993. So, I mean, in 1993, the Genesis was pretty much in its prime. You had a lot of, you know, games that really sold a lot more copies than this sold. And, you know, this was 1993 Action Game of the Year from EGM. A lot of the Treasure games I find are like that. Maybe they were limited production, considering how well they did. They certainly could have sold a lot more copies of this game. So like I said, I was happy to find this game. I got a good deal on it. Usually it goes for about 40 bucks complete on eBay. I basically got it for like $10, so pretty awesome. Once again, another boss fight, lots of rotation, lots of sprites making up the boss. This one you have sort of 5 bosses right in a row. You can go through the levels in any order. You know, if you get sick of playing one level over and over, you can go level 3 or level 4. You can do them in any order. Similar to, I guess, Mega Man in that regards. And, you know, the weapons make it great. I have to say this game would be amazing with 2 players, because holy crap, there's already so much stuff going on at once. You know, just with you and the special weapons that you can get. This game does have 2-player simultaneous co-op, which would be sweet. Definitely gonna bring this game over to my buddy's house when I get a chance and play it on his Genesis. Once again, another boss fight. Like I said, if you've played, you know, Dynamite Heady, which is another Treasure game, you know what I'm talking about. They love their boss fights, man. I mean, these games are, you know, all about the boss fights. This one not as much as Dynamite Heady, because the running gun in this game is just awesome. And, you know, Treasure's been known to push the Genesis. There's no doubt about it. They're pushing the Genesis better than almost anyone else, while still having top-notch gameplay. And if you didn't know, Treasure is basically made up from a bunch of programmers that left Konami. So these guys left Konami of Japan, made their own company, and they made some of the best games on the Genesis. This is definitely one of them. You have to pick this game up if you have a Genesis. You know, if you like these run and gun games, if you like these shooters, you know what? Even if you don't have a Genesis, pick up a damn Genesis. This is one of the best reasons to pick up a Genesis. They're so damn cheap. You go out to a pawn shop, I see them every time I go out to pawn shops. You know, 10, 20 bucks you can pick up a Genesis. If you can find this game, definitely pick this one up. And here you can see I've died for the first time on the smallest boss you can imagine. Game over. And that's the end of this review. I will see you guys later.